Hello guys and welcome to a brand new video. Today I will be talking about Heaven Burns Red Chapter 4 Part 2. So yes, I've completed it yesterday. I was able to complete it. I took it slow. It's been out for a while. I think like it's almost been like 20 or 25 days it's been out. And I've completed it yesterday and yeah, I am going to share my experiences, give my impressions about this and talk about the whole chapter and share what I thought about it. So obviously, because I will be talking about this chapter, if you haven't played this chapter or chapter 4 in general, you shouldn't watch this video. You'll get spoiled because I'll talk about a lot of the things that happens here. So it's like filled with spoilers. It will be this whole discussion will be filled with spoilers. So yeah, you should skip this video if you don't want to get spoiled. Yeah, let us get started then. Alright, so I completed it yesterday. Like I said, I took it slow, and these chapters are quite big. Like it takes like I don't know, like at least like 5 to 6 hours. I think like if you count it as a whole, it's that big. Like each chapter is that big. The previous chapters were quite small. I think like chapter 3 was quite big. Chapter 4 part 1 was also quite big, but it little by little started getting bigger. This one is also quite big. The amount of days that we spent here in this chapter is not that big compared to the previous episode. It had like 14 days, but each day was quite big because we were seeing both the perspective. And this is the first thing and the first change they brought in this chapter is that we saw two perspectives, one from Ruka and one from Megumi. So Megun's perspective obviously in the dome, Ruka's perspective in the squad itself, what was going on. So technically it is actually, you could say like 28 days because each day was like divided into two parts. So you're playing the whole day from two perspectives, literally repeating the day. So you could say instead of 14 days, this was actually 28 days. So yeah, it was like the same amount of content that we had previously, but the days were shorter because it was double the size. So anyways, that is the first change. A lot of other changes came here. For example, we had a third perspective view of certain sections. Obviously the other sections were like side scrolling sections as we've had, but certain sections where we had like a third perspective, and it was like the frontal view, and those were interesting. Those was like a little bit new, and yeah, it was kind of fun, like going around the places and jumping around, using the seraph, the thing that they use to teleport. Right, so that was quite fun. The double perspective was also kind of interesting. I really liked the whole Megumi's the tasks that she used to do, like in the dome. It was kind of fun because it seemed like I'm playing like I don't know, like an RPG or something, like completing tasks and getting rewards and just upgrading my fishing boat, going fishing, stuff like that. And obviously you cannot do it in one sitting. I think like I completed the game and there were so many things that I still haven't done. Now I'm going back and reliving the memories and completing the stuff that I haven't done over there. But yeah, that was quite fun actually. I really liked the whole little section where we were given a free time. We can just go buy ice cream. I don't know, get tasks from the task broker, do the tasks, get some money, go to the scrapyard, get some materials, upgrade it, and get better fish, get better bait. Yeah, it was kind of interesting, at least for me. And yeah, that first part was quite fun. What else changes did we have here? I think those were the main changes. mm, yeah, there weren't any other significant changes. That was it. Oh, there was another big change which I am a bit skeptical about. Like at the ending, we had the two squad thing. Like the main final battle, what we had, the final battle, the boss battle, where we had to fight the skull plume. It had like 3 DP bars, and not only that, even before that, they told you to pick two squads. Now usually for me, I have one squad focused on, like even in the anarchies, I just focus with one squad. I don't go with the second one. My one squad is very good, other squads are not really that good. So I was quite surprised here, so I actually had to tweak my squad a little bit here and there. And I did find it a bit difficult, especially the first two battles. with those, not the skull plume. The skull plume was quite easy in my opinion, but the other two mini bosses that came before that, because my squad wasn't really that prepared, because I usually focus on one squad. Sudden change, it kind of startled me. So I was able to do it, obviously, but now I am thinking I have to focus on another squad as well. So without any, without any warning, they suddenly do that. So that was a bit surprising, and I don't know, I didn't really like that, and it wasn't as if that it was easy. Those two mini bosses were quite difficult in my opinion, because I had to divide one squad into two. Like I said, I have one squad fully prepared, ready for anything. So I had to divide the members between two squads and properly, and bring other teammates that I haven't even properly built. So that's why it was a bit difficult for me, but it wasn't really that hard. It took me like a half an hour to properly tweak the two teams and do it. Yeah. So that was the only thing, I guess. You could say that I found a little bit weird. They suddenly did that, but I guess it makes sense. Now I'll just focus on two squads now. Like I'll build another squad properly, so that the main content at least I can do. Mm, so yeah, these were the main changes, and I like most of them, almost all of them, except the final one, like I said. But I have to say, like, the final battle against the Skull Plume was quite interesting. They were like changing squads and changing perspective. One DP we broke, we went to the other squad doing the, it was kind of fun just going back and forth, back and forth. And the Skull Plume wasn't even that difficult. At least the DP bars weren't that difficult. The DP bars went down quite easily. But the problem with the Skull Plume was that it, every single, I think, like, interval, it increased its defense and attack. So the more you prolong the battle, the more screwed you'll be. So at the end, after breaking all the DP bars, the main HP bar was, I think I had to go like 2 or 3 times and use this like special attack of my character. But I was able to do it. And like I said, my squads weren't really that prepared, because I broke up one squad into two. So there were a lot of teammates who were unprepared, and 2 or 3 very good teammates I had. So I had to like focus on those few teammates completely to deal the major damage. So anyways, yeah. So that was the changes. Now, the story is absolutely amazing. Obviously we continued from the previous chapter, which where we had to Megumi left and went to the dome, and it starts with Megumi going to the dome and meeting like these new characters. Now, throughout the whole, obviously, like Heaven Burns Red story, how it does it. It builds up the whole thing little by little. It starts slow, building up the whole thing little by little, and then at the end it just goes bam. So throughout the episode, we saw Megumi's perspective, her, you could say, character development, her growth, doing her stuff in the dome. Now I feel like it was very important, like this whole episode for Megumi was very important, because it, the one thing that she was like struggling with was the fact that she couldn't bear the fact that she wasn't Megumi and that she wasn't the savior. She, as a Nardi, as a human Nardi, she literally had nothing, no memories, nothing. Everything she was like, oh, it's the human Megumi, it's not me. These things like accomplishments or whatever, it's not me. These memories is none of these is mine. So what am I doing here? What am I here for? And that is also the reason why in chapter 4 part 1 she wanted to do something to the flat hand herself, so that she could get like an accomplishment on her own, like as the current Aikawa Megumi, as the current human Nardi Megumi. She wanted to do something, but she failed there. So she left, and she was like, yeah, I'm not cut out for this. But here the dome was very important, I feel like, because it gave her her own memories, her own accomplishments. Her fighting against the cancers that came in the dome, without any set of yeah, she fought it using her psychic powers and defeated them. And the memories that she made, there was also her. It wasn't Aikawa Megumi's, the previous human Megumi's, memories. These are new memories that she got. And so this was very important for her. And at the end, you can see she realizes, not realizes, but yeah, you could say she realizes that, like, she is like, she can make a change, and she needs to go back, and so she went back. So that was fantastic. Like, that whole development was absolutely amazing. On Ruka's side, you would think there wasn't really anything to expand upon, because basically this episode was more on Megumi. But you'd be surprised, because we get to see a little bit of Tama's story as well, which makes sense. Tama and Megumi are kind of paired up most of the time. So Tama's story, we get to see, like, one thing I was always curious about is how she always talks about Kotetsumaru, and how, like, they got attacked, they got defeated and all that. I was like, like, I don't know why in the very first chapter I thought that she was like, I don't know, like, making something up or something, because she's a little kid. I was like, how the hell can she be a captain? But little by little, I realized that no, she is not lying or like making stuff up. It's legitimate. She was a captain, actually, and it kind of clicked when she mentioned that she's a designer baby. She was made for Kotetsumaru. It kind of made sense there, and I realized, like, oh yeah, okay, you know what, that makes sense, kind of, I guess, because I don't see any other reason why they'd give a child, like, like a captain position to do. It made no sense to me. But when we got to know that she's a designer baby and she was made especially for this, it kind of made sense. So I was always curious about, like, all these things that she says, like, what was it like, so we got to see a very good kind of depiction of, not depiction, but like a recreation of her past, where we get through her story when she was in Kotetsumaru and she found this little parakeet. No, not parakeet, sorry, what, pigeon, right? Yeah, like, but the ones that bring in letters. She gets, like, like sees one of those pigeons injured, and she, like, nurses it to help. But by the end of it, we realize that, as Ruka says, that, so this wasn't you recounting your tale about your experiences with the pigeon. It was actually you telling your story about your bond with Kotetsumaru main computer, the main computer that she was talking with. So that was her story about her, and the bond that she made with the computer. And and when they trapped Kotetsumaru, how she was helpless at that point and couldn't really do anything. So we get a really good, like, like, story, like, like, over there, like, a really good recollection over there. We get to know more about Tama as well. So and Ruka kind of helps her out, trying to understand, like, that, just like Megumi, how all her accomplishments aren't really, she's the one who did it, so it's fine. She did her best, and she gave everything, and now, like, nothing you can do about it. You gave your best. That's all that you need to do. Same with Megumi. She gave her best, tried to stop her, like, like, poured out her feelings, and told her how she helped her. She was her savior, at least. And yeah, so that was in Ruka's side, the development and everything we got. And in the end, obviously, it kind of coincides together when both come together to fight the Skull Plume. Now, yeah, so that was fantastic, the way the whole story went. Now, a few interesting things about this episode that I really was, a few things I was quite surprised myself is, number one, the fact that what was her name? Aki, right? Aki, Grandma Aki. She was actually Megumi's mother. Now, I feel like, I said, like, it was surprising to me that she was her mother. But you know why it was surprising? Because it was so damn obvious. It's so obvious that she's her mother, that I actually thought that she isn't. I was like, oh, okay, they're definitely not going to make her mother, right? And then in the end, we get to know that, and I'm like, how the hell, like, what type of a coincidence is this? And then I realized this is no coincidence. I'm 100% sure Tezuka knew she was there in that dome, in Narashiro dome. That was the name of the dome, right? Yeah, knew that Megumi's mother was there, and that is why she put Megumi over there in that dome. Otherwise, I don't have no other answer to how the hell, what type of a coincidence is this, like where she went to one dome where suddenly she meets her mother over there. It makes no sense. This coincidence makes no sense. There's so many other domes. She could have literally gone anywhere. But I remember one section where, like, they mentioned that Tezuka's the one who put her there. Makes sense. She's her commander. So I feel like, obviously, since Megumi is a human Narbi, she must have had her records, like, oh, this person, like, is from this, like, family, or these are the mother and the father of this person, and this person lived over there. All her records, past records, must be there with them. Tezuka must have them, and she probably knew that Megumi's mother lives in that particular dome. So Tezuka deliberately put Megumi in that dome so that she could, like, understand herself and come in contact with her. That was her pulling strings, I feel like. Otherwise, the coincidence makes no sense. It makes no freaking sense at all. Like, so, and that's why I said, like, it was so obvious that I was surprised that that's the case, because I didn't expect it, because it was so obvious. Because first and foremost, they mention how she's from she's from Osaka as well, right? She has the Kansai dialect, Kansai, and like, yeah. So that's number one. Number two, the fact that she's looking for her daughter. Her daughter, like, like, is somewhere there outside. These two are the biggest giveaway. As soon as they mentioned that she also has the Kansai dialect, I was like, wait, so there's a possibility this is her mother, because like, there is a gap. Like, it would make no sense that she is that old and Megumi is that young. It would make no sense if you didn't know that there was a point of time that, like, Megumi died and she was brought back. So there's a time gap, there's a time lag going on here. you know Current Megumi, if she was a human, would at least be 40 to, I don't know, like maybe 50 years old. The reason why she's so young here is because she was brought back and there was a time gap over there. So that's why. And that's why it makes sense why she's so young here and why her mother is so old. But obviously, nobody else would realize that. Nobody even knows about, except our main group. Nobody even knows about the Human Navi project. So her mother had no idea that Megumi was her daughter. But I'm sure she felt something. She definitely felt that she probably felt that, oh, she is like my daughter. That's why she took her in. Like, from the from her heart. And like, from the inside, from her, like, like, feelings, she took Rumi in, she took Megumi in for the same reason. She probably looked at Rumi and thought that, oh, it reminds me of my daughter. They literally mentioned this in the end. And for Megumi, because she is her daughter, even though she doesn't recognize her or realize her that that's her daughter, she probably felt something from her heart, and that's why she took her in, even though she had dementia. Now, this is another thing that was, brought here. They kind of, at the beginning, they kind of show, like, Megumi's mom, Aki, as a grumpy old woman who just is rude to everyone, just screams at everyone, and, doesn't talk to anyone, and it just, like, very grumpy, lies, like, left and right. And they kind of showed her like that, and that is why the dome people from the dome, they were like, what the hell is wrong with this lady? And they didn't, like, talk to her that much and kind of kept their distance from her. But as soon as, like, in the episode, they said, there was a section where they said that apparently Aki always says that, oh, I was this, I was in this profession, like a certain profession. And then she says, like, oh no, I was in this profession, a different profession. She also said sometimes that she was a seraph, like, like, she was one of the people fighting. She was a ex-seraph officer or something like that, she used to say as well. So these different, like, like, things that she said, people thought she was lying. As soon as she said that, I'm like, oh, this is dementia, because it's obviously, it's an old age problem. Most people have when they get old. They cannot remember anything, number one. Number two, they, like, say, like, they kind of say wrong stuff without even, like, realizing that they're saying, like, things that are not consistent. These type of things. And I was like, oh, that's because that's why. you know so, Megumi helped her out in that regards, where she basically brought this to attention to everyone, and everyone was more accepting of her from that point onwards. So yeah, that was the other thing. And obviously, the ending part, where we get to know what she does every single day with that big bag. Where does she go? She goes. It's a custom jungle gym that Megumi used to love playing on, or I think like they said like Megumi wanted always, and they brought one in their house. It was there, and she used to play there, and and that's why she brings that every day, puts it over there, and just watches, waiting for her daughter to come back. And that part was very emotional. Obviously, in the end, Megumi goes and talks to her, and while saying goodbye, she gets to see what she's doing. And yeah, this part was very emotional because like where Aki's like, why are you here to stop me? Like, what harm am I doing to you? I'm just waiting for my daughter. Is it wrong for a mother to wait for her daughter? Like, yeah. So yeah, that part was something. Good God. But yeah, there you go. In the end, Megumi at least realized that is her mother, and she knows that she's fine, and she knows that the dome people will take care of her now that she has, cleared up all the misunderstanding, and she also realized what she's fighting for. And after realizing all of that, she left back to the squad. Obviously, another character in this whole thing was Rumi. Rumi is a kid who Aki brought in, like when she was all alone, and helped her out. Probably because she reminded her of her own daughter. And so even though she had dementia, she still remembered Rumi and Megumi because of those reasons. Like, Rumi reminded her of her own daughter, while Megumi was her own daughter, even though she didn't realize it. So that's why she never forgot those two. She, remembered them every single day, unlike all the other people who she just forgot. And that's why she never greeted them outside when they were doing their stuff. People thought that she was being rude, but obviously that's not the case. Yeah, so that one was also like, Rumi was also like a character that we kind of got to know more about. Like, with the trailers and everything, I thought that they were going to, like, I don't know, like the whole focus would be on Rumi. I was surprised to see that Aki actually got the maximum focus by the end, which makes sense. She's literally Megumi's mother, and I guess you could say emotional connection and like development that we had. I thought it was going to happen between Megumi and Rumi. Yeah, they also had obviously their emotional moments and everything, but like her with her mother was like the maximum. Like I said, that ending scene was just everything. Like in front of the jungle gym, Megumi is just standing there while Aki is also standing there. Um, yeah, so that was fantastically done. And obviously the ending part where Megumi comes to help everyone, and Tama almost got hit, but Megumi comes and stops it, and we defeat the Skull Plume. Um, right, and Megumi is back. Obviously, like Tezuka, like everyone thought, not everyone, but obviously, like 31A knew or believed, I guess you could say, that she would come back. Tezuka also probably knew and believed that she would come back, because like I said, I feel like Tezuka has a lot of things that she, like, kind of did in the background that we didn't know. Like the fact that Megumi got paired up in a dome where literally her mother lives is a crazy coincidence that I do not believe is a coincidence. Tezuka definitely did that, pulled some strings there. So because of that reason, I feel like Tezuka knew that she's going to come back sooner or later. So she wasn't really that surprised, you could see. She was like, "Oh yeah, welcome back." Megumi's like, "Wait, you're not going to tell me anything? You're not going to scold me or something?" She's like, you helped us out. It's fine. Welcome back. Right. And so yeah. So yeah, there you go. That was the whole episode. It was fantastic, absolutely amazing. And in the ending, we see like a little scene where Megumi tells Ruka that you want to know, get your memories. You want to know what is there in your subconscious. I can do that now that she has had her development in the Narashiro Dome. She has a better grasp of her psychic abilities, so she can probably tap into her head and I don't know, make her remember stuff. So that is for chapter 5, I think. Yeah, before that I guess we'll get the main interlude 2, which I'm not sure what it is about. Before we had in main interlude 1 we had that mini story about Iroha, right? Iroha, that's her name, right? Iroha Ishii. We had that mini story about her. This is also part of the main story, obviously. think everything is part of the main story. It was more connected to the main story. Um, yeah, and now we'll have a main interlude too before the chapter 5, I think, which I'm not sure what we'll get. Let's wait and see. Right, but I'm very interested in seeing Ruka's past, like, because obviously there's so many things about Ruka that I have a question about. First question is, what is that main screen? I've always felt there's something about that main screen that we don't understand. What is that cat in the main screen telling Ruka that, oh, like, if you're stuck, come to me, I'll help you out, or something like that. The cat says, and it's just very interesting how Ruka's just always, like, while playing the main story, she comes back to this room and just stands there, like, what the hell is that? So I feel like I think, like, those are definitely connected to her past, maybe something. So I feel like in chapter 5, if we get to know more about Ruka's past, a lot of the questions will be answered. So I'm looking forward to that. There's a lot of mystery surrounding Ruka herself, and I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if this ends up being a whole Clannad situation where, or like a Little Buster situation where Ruka's actually like, there's a lot of things going on in the background which you don't understand. Obviously, spoiler alert if you haven't watched Clannad, the whole Clannad thing was basically Tomoya collecting those orbs so that he can bring Nagisa back to life. You know, while spoiler alert for Little Busters, the whole story that we go through in Little Busters with, I forgot the kid's name, I forgot his name, the main character, was for him to wake up and save that girl. I forgot the girl's name as well. I forgot everyone's name in Little Busters. Rin, I think that was the girl's name. Save her from the burning bus. While in the end, as we see, he ends up saving everyone. So that was why the whole main story was there for this particular moment. I wouldn't be surprised if Heaven Burns Red take a direction like that, where everything that we're going through now ends up being something that was happening for a bigger purpose. So yeah, because Junmaida loves these type of things. I've seen most of I think like every single one of his stories have something like this, like a little twist in the end. You know, so yeah. Anyways, I'm looking forward to chapter 5 when it comes out. Obviously, before that, we'll have the main interlude too. But yeah, chapter 4, part 2 was fantastic throughout, like, the whole episode. It was absolutely amazing. And Megumi had a crazy amount of character development here. I feel like currently she's like at the top of, even she's even surpassing Ruka in terms of character development. But I feel like it's just a matter of time because chapter 5 will probably get to know more about Ruka. But Megumi has a huge boost. They literally had one whole chapter. You could probably say more than one chapter. No, one chapter, sorry. Part 1 and part 2 for chapter 4 focused on her, about her development and everything. That is massive. Like, and I do hope, like, a little by little, every single character has something like this. I think chapter 5 will probably get to see about Ruka. Maybe in the upcoming chapters we'll get more about Yuki. Who else? We did get a little bit about Tojo, but I want a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more about Tojo. Karen, we still don't know that much. We do know a little bit about her psycho killer persona, why she's there. A little bit of explanation we had. Not enough. I feel like we will need more there as well. Tama, we got to know a little bit about her in Megumi's, like, this whole thing, but maybe a little bit more. So yeah, but currently Megumi, I feel like Megumi's story is just complete. Like, she had a whole character development arc, a development arc after that, like proper development arc, and then like an execution arc, I guess you could say. Everything was just there for her. It was like a complete story, a complete package for Megumi we got. So yeah, hopefully the other characters also get those. I'm really looking forward to Ruka's story, whatever we'll see, her past and all that. So it'll give me some answers to a lot of questions that I've had always about Ruka. So let's see. And that is it, guys. That was my you could say review or my impressions on Heaven Burns Red Chapter 4 Part 2. I don't do the gameplay because doing my gameplay is I just do it once and like, like maybe one day I do it like 1 hour, play 1 hour, the next day play 3 hours. It's just inconsistent. So that's why I don't really do the main gameplay, like videos on them, like gameplay videos. Or I just take it at my pace. I like doing it like that, but I do make reviews like this at the end. And maybe now that I've completed chapter 4, there were a few AMVs that I had my eye on, but I didn't really click on them because I knew there'll be spoilers. But I do have a one AMV in my mind, which always saw the thumbnail on my recommendation, which is for chapter 4 part 2. Maybe I'll react to that. And like I realized that there's a few songs I think that is copyrighted, but most of the songs of Heaven Burns Red aren't copyrighted, which I kind of checked in the previous when I reacted to the trailer. Nothing happened. So it's kind of weird because I very much remember there was one, I think it was the first trailer or something where the song got copyright claimed. I don't know why. But anyways, yeah. So maybe I'll do like an AMV reaction or something for chapter 4 part 2, which I've always had my eye on. I want to watch it now that I've completed chapter 4 part 2. Maybe I'll do a reaction to that. But anyways, I make review videos like this at the end after I complete playing every single chapter, because I just love talking about it and sharing my experiences. So this was for chapter 4 part 2. Yeah, this was 10 out of 10. Absolute, like peak fiction, I guess you could say. So yeah, I'll end it here. Thanks for watching. This was me talking about Heaven's Burn Red chapter 4 part 2. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to press the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel, or you haven't subscribed. Comment down below anything you want to say, anything you want to let me know. I'll check them out. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the other videos. So until then, goodbye and have a nice day.